Now I want to talk about another topic that's a little bit more like this one is a little like more serious of a topic than Joe Biden's senility. So, The Boys is this show that I think I think people most people seem to agree that the first season or the second season were pretty good. At the first couple, did you watch the
I
show?
didn't watch it. No,
Yeah,
I
I
I
didn't
I
either.
thought about it, but yeah, never got around to it.
Yeah, I mean, it was like one of those shows that I knew was quote unquote woke.
Right.
Um, I was like, people saying, "Oh, it's good," despite the random this, that, or the other thing. And then I saw a clip of the main superhero getting chest fed by some woman for shock value, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm not into that at all." Um, but anyway, most people agree that the show was left leaning and that it started at least pretty good.
Right.
Now in season 4, most people are saying, "Oh, they've completely jumped the shark and they've gone basically into this ham-fisted hard politics." Even so there's two main writers that write about culture at Forbes.
Mhm.
One of them is Paul Tassi, who's like an unapologetic leftist, and the other is Eric Kane, who isn't exactly a leftist or a conservative, but he's more like even keeled.
I think he's the one who was going after me for being against transgender ideology,
Paul
which I
Tassi.
was always no, Eric. I was
Oh,
always cool with him, and so it's weird.
okay.
Because
So
I do
maybe
feel
Eric
like he
isn't
is
then.
well, I think he's more on the libertarian side or whatever, and I thought he always made a lot of good points on things. And so yeah, we followed each other, I don't know, during like I think the COVID stuff or whatever, because he was
Oh yeah,
I
I
recall,
thought
I
it was
think
kind of
he
based on that.
yeah, I think he was. And so it was so random that once I started speaking out more against transgender ideology and all of this, he was quote tweeting me and not having it and
Oh, okay.
saying all this, oh, you don't have to be a bigot. Or I don't know if he used the word bigot. I can't remember exactly. And I don't want to put
Maybe
words in
he's
his
a
mouth,
chaser.
but
Maybe
he
he liked.
definitely did not like that I was against transgender ideology.
Mm.
And he definitely had some harsh words for me about that. And so yeah, it was a couple different times he
All
did
right,
that.
I
And I was like,
retract. I
well,
retract my
no, you
statement
don't
about Eric
have to.
Kane.
You can still like him. It's fine. But
I don't like him. I'm just saying he's less of a leftoid in my experience
well,
than
I think
Paul.
he is less such,
Yeah.
but still, that did confuse me a bit. I wasn't expecting that from him, but I did tell him, I was like, hey, if you really hate my takes so much and all this, you don't have to follow me. I'll understand if you're just gonna.
Yeah.
I just think it's weird that we're gonna be mutual followers if you're just gonna keep quote tweeting my stuff and to hate on me or call me a transphobe or whatever. I don't remember exactly how it was that he said. Um, but yeah, he hasn't unfollowed me.
That's
So I'm
the
like,
that's
well, I
that
won't
world though.
unfollow him then. Like, I'm fine with him. I just disagree with him on this stuff. But
Well,
yeah.
as we've reached the 4th season of the show, even Paul Tassi, he writes, this week's episode, Dirty Business, has a group infiltrating an alt-right meetup where the coup of the government is plotted, led by Homelander and Victoria Newman. This is the evening we get two of the worst aspects of the show this season. It's ham-handed political commentary, a Republican quote almost verbatim. It's also the boys trying to outdo itself by not having better storylines or character moments, but by just being gross. So later in the episode, um, there's a scene where a male character, is basically getting like SA'd for 2/3 of the episode.
Oh,
He's in like some dungeon and people are doing stuff to him that he doesn't like. And it's this bit that he doesn't know his own safe word, and they're doing all this kind of stuff, right? The
oh,
showrunner, again, this is just what the left thinks about men who have to, have this stuff happen to them. It's all a joke, right?
right.
Um, in this season, you can see this has not been an enjoyable season. The politics have gotten just dumb, way too one-to-one paralleled with real life in a way that isn't clever, even if I agree with those politics. So this is a leftist saying that, right?
Oh,
And he says here in this other article, this one's from Eric Kane, He says, my colleague Paul Tassi has already detailed why the scene is so messed up, but I'll direct you to a synopsis critique. So again, in the episode, a man has, he has an unauthorized entry stuff happen to him. And earlier in the show, it happened to a woman. And so this is the contrast in the showrunner's opinion.
Okay.
The interview asked the following question, which I would have asked too. Let's start with Tech Knight's, dungeon part. Where did the idea come from, and why did Huey bring him the situation, kicking him while he's down, just to have him essayed by his childhood hero after his dad just died? The showrunner's reply in full writes, well, that's a dark way to look at it. We thought it was hilarious.
Oh, what?
Tech Knight is our version of Batman, and we wanted to really play around with that trope.
Oh, well, they hate Batman. Woke people hate Batman.
Yeah, they do.
Even the ones like writing his own comics and stuff these days, they hate him. Yeah.
Batman's fascist underpinnings, blah, 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 blah. So the takeaway there is they thought the man getting, having things done to him was hilarious.
Oh.
Now you contrast that. You see, kink tickled. I'm sorry, but this wasn't kink. This was entirely non-consensual. The fact that the show's creator views it as hilarious and waves it off as some sort of funny sex dungeon scene is more disturbing than the scene itself. When asked if there was ever a time when Amazon said that this was taking things too far, Kripke adds, I love that it's just a perfect setup and that he doesn't know his own safe word. It's like a beautiful comedy setup that he's trying to find it the whole time.
Oh, no.
Not knowing your own safe word is just about the farthest thing from funny that I can think of. I'm absolutely baffled. This is from Forbes.
Wow.
That someone in the major charge of a television series could be this tone deaf. It wasn't just shock value as I'm concerned, any more than Starlight's essay was. This is the female character.
Right.
It was bizarre to see Kripke's view as just a fun segment rather than something that should be taken very, very seriously. Contrast his comments when the same thing happened to a woman on his show. I wanted to get it right. I had a lot of conversations with a lot of women. Some of them were very painful, and I did my absolute best to get the F out of the way and just let them speak and not try to steer it one way or another. And then ultimately kind of, boil it down to Starlight's experience, both in the aftermath and the moment. You can see how serious he takes it when it happens to a woman, but it's a great, hilarious bit, when it happens to a man. And there's been updates here. You can watch the show's creator and some of the cast joking around about the scene in the most bizarre way right here. It's like it never occurred to anyone that they were just making the scene, that it was essay and just wow. You can see this. A lot of people are jumping through hoops to defend this scene. One comment's defense is, I've read that Huey knowingly put himself in the situation, so it can't be non-consensual. Another that
see, that's the same. Just like when,
what was she wearing?
If someone's in, yeah, that's also the same as if if they agree to something at first, but then once things start happening, they're like, wait a minute, I changed my mind. So you can't change your mind, that kind of thing as well. You're not allowed to say, wait a minute, I actually don't want to do this. That's wow.
Yeah. And they said, another thing I want to comment is just how tiresome it gets when every single soup is some sort of deviant, bedroom deviant, and not in a way that's even relevant to their character or powers, because we know, the degenerate left gets off on this. Like
they do. They're so perverted.
Yeah, most of the stuff that they do is living out their own weird kink.
Yep.
And they do, and it is my opinion that it gets them off to like denigrate characters that people love.
They love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that in general, in this kind of space, even especially with well-known characters like Batman or all that stuff, is they want to make fans mad. They want fans to see their favorite characters being humiliated. And they definitely get off on it. It's super weird.
Here's a video behind the scene. Yeah, safe to say no one behind the scenes is taking it very seriously. Here's a clip.
World-class comedic performance. Legit is one of the funniest comedic performances I've ever seen.
What?
Period.
Get out of here.
Your tickle scene with him is one of the craziest things we've ever done and one of the funniest.
That's very nice of you to say.
Yeah, well, that's true.
You want that? I said you want that, pain slut.
Yes, mistress.
When I received that script, I found some dominatrixes that I could talk to for some research. And
to assault the man.
Imagine if that was the other way around. How oh goodness.
Yeah, it is extremely odd. That like it's so like the trope of men who who have to suffer against this stuff, or men who have partners hit them or things like that.
Right.
I get that, like, that for me, I am not personally offended by what happened. I'm not grossed out by it. I'm not. But what I'm saying is, if this happened to a woman, they would react very differently. And I also showed you that they did. Like,
Right.
they did react very,
Double
very,
standard.
yeah.
It is I don't like it's very uncomfortable for me. Same thing with even Thor Love and Thunder when they had him naked on there and it seemed like he didn't want to be. I didn't watch it, but just from like the trailers and stuff that I saw, that made me uncomfortable too. I just and it's the double standard that makes it a lot worse, because if they always want to speak out against, oh, we shouldn't exploit women and all this, but they love to humiliate and exploit men in this way. And it's always done in a way that seems to be against the guy's will and makes him uncomfortable, and it makes me uncomfortable to see it. I just think it's gross. I don't like it. But I mean, in this case, it's just very degenerate. I think that there's a lot of soy boys who might like that.
They get it off on it. Yeah, exactly.
I
They're
think
living
they
out
are.
a fantasy.